You were the first undrafted player to be selected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
What was the undrafted mentality of Warren Moon?
You know, it was a chip that I held on my shoulder my whole career, and it didn't matter how many Pro Bowls I had gone to or anything. I felt like I had been cheated coming out of college, that I didn't get an opportunity to play in my country for an NFL team when I came out of school based off of what I did, you know, especially my senior year. So it was a chip that I carried for a long time, and I thought I was going to stay in Canada my whole career. I loved it that much, but I had so much success early, and in the back of my mind, I'm wondering, how good am I really as a quarterback? And the only way you can judge yourself on how good you are is to play against the best players in the world. So that was one of the things that made me want to come back to the NFL.
Bud Adams, we know he's a shrewd businessman. Going through a negotiation with him, the late Titans and Oilers owner, by the time you actually signed, I'm sure it felt like it wasn't worth it. But whenever you did sign, you were the highest paid player in the NFL. So did it feel worth it, going through a negotiation with him, Lee Steinberg as your agent?
That part of it wasn't difficult because, like I said, I had 7 teams that were bidding on my services, so I knew I was going to get a good contract. The key was how long it was going to be and how much of it was guaranteed. But Bud Adams was always fair to me. He made me the highest paid player 2 different times when I was in Houston. He had no problem with African-American quarterbacks, something that I love. He had Steve McNair. He had Vince Young. He had myself, so that was never a problem with him. He didn't see color. He just saw who could play the position. And that was a big deal back in those days, you know, whether people believed that you could play that position. So I love Bud Adams, and I think he should be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and I'm going to try and help make a push to get him in there because, you know, he was a part of the original AFL. He had really good football teams in Houston, and he was a legendary trailblazer.
Yeah, Tom Brady playing at an extremely high level at 44 years old. You're a guy, Warren, that you played for a long time also and played well for a long time. Was there a secret? I guess here's the question. Is there a secret for everyone out there to be able to do that, or is it just up to the individual to find out what works for them physically to get ready and to play, and how much fortune is involved in that to play that long?
I think it's both. I think it's up to the individual to keep himself in great condition, which Tom does. I should have ate more avocado ice cream when I was playing, and maybe I'd still be playing right now. But he takes great care of his body. His body is like his temple. He trains well in the off season. And then he went to a super talented football team. I mean, he's got 4 all-pro receivers. You look at Gronk, he's been an all-pro how many years? Maybe the top 5 tight end in history. Antonio Brown, one of the best receivers in the league. Mike Evans, one of the best receivers, a Pro Bowl guy. So he's got a lot of weapons to throw the football to, and they invested in his offensive line, so he's protected. So as long as he keeps himself in good shape, which he does, and his mind is as good as anybody in the game, he can play as long as he wants.
The Oilers-Titans relationship. You're in town for Titans-Oilers Alumni Weekend. For people in Nashville or Titans fans, I would argue the Oilers' history doesn't matter all that much, but people in Houston, people who grew up Oilers fans, it obviously does. Is it odd to kind of have that connection over 2 cities with one organization? It's probably not as odd for you. Everyone knows who Warren Moon is, but for a lot of the other old Oilers players that aren't Hall of Famers, they may not have that same connection.
And those are the guys that I feel best about this weekend, guys that only played for the Oilers, had no other identity after they retired. They didn't have an alumni weekend to go to. I have different teams that I could associate with. They don't have a team they go watch practice or kind of just be a part of, you know. So I'm glad that Amy reached out to everybody and wants to bring the Oilers back into to the family because, you know, I'm the all-time leader in passing with the Oilers Titans, right? All my records came here. So, yeah, I am a Titan, even though we are in different cities, but everything in my legacy has moved here with the Titans. So, yeah, I'm glad that she did that, and this is something she said she wants to do every year, and I think the guys really appreciate it. All the guys I've talked to are just ecstatic about being here and just having a chance to socialize with one another and catch up with one another and feel like they belong somewhere because the NFL is like a fraternity, and even though you retire, you should still be a part of that fraternity, and now we have somewhere we can say we're part of that.
The Astrodome Turf is in a warehouse in this city somewhere. But actually, it's a true story. He shipped it up here.
That doesn't surprise me
wanting
at
to
all.
use it for the indoor practice facility because he didn't want to spend the money. Jeff Fisher Fisher says that he bought the turf that's in the practice facility.
The whole
because he refused to use. That's what he says, because he refused to bring the turf with him. Bud to I guess the whole time thought they were using the old Astrodome turf to practice on.
Bud has always been very thrifty. There's no question
I'm giving
about
him nightmares.
That has not been. That's probably one of his strengths, but that doesn't surprise me at all. But if you look over there right now, I went over there today, and their facilities are first class, and they're continuing to build over there with the renovation project going on for their offices and that, and then they're going to start on the stadium, and it's just going to be a great atmosphere around the Tennessee Titans, and they have a great football team as well. And they showed a lot of character last week in Seattle. I was at that game. Coming from behind 30-14 in that environment, that's a tough place to play anyway, and then you get behind like that and be able to come back. That's a game that's going to pay a lot of dividends, I think, for their team down the road.
Well, Warren, we know you have a very busy schedule, and we really appreciate you
thank you for
having
me.
Us.
Thank you, and hopefully Vandy does well today. I know they got a tough opponent in Georgia, but that's why they play the game.
That's why they play the games. Warren Moon, everybody, here on Outkick the Tailgate. Thanks once again. We'll be back right after this.
Shack where the woods meets the water.